demand that you come out and publicly rescind your support for the Keystone XL energy pipeline and Exxon's proposed tar sand shipments. We feel that the Silvertip pipeline disaster into the Yellowstone River recently is just a preview of what's to come if you continue to cater to big oil's interests and turn our state into what would essentially be an energy extraction colony.
Statements. Cheering, okay, well, I understand it kind of gets people going, but it takes some of the time. I can't be here all day. I've got other meetings, as you know, and I'm going to try and spend some time with you. But if we could, kind of on down low with cheering, and let's just talk about this. We have a question down here. I saw
Would you respond to that?
Would you respond to the request?
What's that?
The request that's on the table?
Oh,
then respond
yeah,
to it.
I'm probably not going to do that today. Next question.
I have a question, really quick, Mr. Governor, which is that how exactly do you?
So now you're the spokesman. Raise your hand if he's your spokesman right now.
That's right now.
I'll just raise that.
I'm like a spokesperson.
Okay, I see about a dozen hands say you're their spokesman. Is there somebody else?
No, he just has another question.
I want you to don't interrupt people. How about that one?
And we're okay with him asking another question.
Okay, quick follow up.
Yeah, I would just like to know how it is that you feel that on the one hand, you're coming out publicly and chastising ExxonMobil for its negligence in the Silvertip pipeline disaster, while at the same time, you're having backroom meetings with ExxonMobil and coming out publicly and supporting ExxonMobil's proposed tar sand shipping corridor that would bring refinery modules up through one of the most scenic and beautiful river corridors on the face of the planet. And
question. That's the question for you, though.
Well, why don't you?
I thought this was going to be a dialogue rather than you just asking for questions.
Because I'm only asking, but because I think that all of Montana wants to.
You used a term
that
offends me.
Yeah.
And first, you're going to document that I've had a quote backroom meeting with ExxonMobil.
Okay. Well,
you made that statement. So, do you have some evidence, or does someone have any evidence?
I think
or
that's.
Has someone even spoken to somebody?
I will rescind that because it's nitpicky, and I will just say meeting. Is that okay?
Well,
why are you at the same time having meetings with ExxonMobil and TransCanada and coming out publicly in support of these pipeline projects and tar sand shipping corridor projects, while also chastising ExxonMobil, calling them out as being, non-transparent and disingenuous?
We have, near as I can tell, we have 88 places in Montana where we have pipelines with either oil and gas products or natural gas or crude oil that crosses streams and rivers in Montana. We're concerned about all of those. We're concerned in particular about this Silvertip. It does appear as though PHMSA, which is the federal agency that's responsible for pipelines as part of the Department of Transportation, has received some information over the course of the last year about some deficiencies in this pipeline. That has concerned us, and we've asked very pointed questions about that information, and we haven't received anything back from either the federal government or from ExxonMobil. The question that you've got right now is about Keystone XL, an additional pipeline, which would be in addition to the 88 other crossings that we have.
Yes,
it would cross in a couple of places. There's a few things that I'm concerned about all pipelines, and that is that they are developed to a standard that is a modern standard. The Keystone pipeline, as it's been explained to me, would be a pipeline that when it does pass a lowland where there's a stream, a river, a creek, or a body of water, that unlike the Silvertip, it won't be buried in the bed of the river. They use this newer technology. There's pipelines that are built that way, and ExxonMobil has been instructed by PHMSA that they will not be able to use the Silvertip again until they use this newer technology, which is horizontal boring. And in horizontal boring, they start, some distance, quarter mile, half mile back, depending on the topography. And they have to lay the pipeline geologically.
Yeah, they lie.
I'm just curious.
You know they do.
This is all very fascinating. I'm just sort of curious because I'm no expert, but I do know that the Keystone Phase 1 pipeline has had 12 ruptures in the last 12 months,
Yeah.
and that I know that every time, this is like repeat. Every time an oil company comes in and proposes a project, they say that there's basically no risk of a disaster,
And
no
it's
risk
new
of a spill,
technology.
and so often there is. Almost every time there is. Just look at the British
And
Petroleum
it's always the worst one so far.
disaster in the
Always.
Gulf. Look at the Keystone Phase 1 pipeline. Look at Exxon Valdez. For Christ's sake.
Yellowstone
If the
National
Keystone
Park.
XL pipeline gets built and ruptures into the Yellowstone River, it would be 20 times worse. This is an environmental report 20 times worse than the pipeline that just ruptured into the Yellowstone River.
That's not acceptable.
That's not acceptable. That's unacceptable.
That may not even be true because I can't tell you how much oil has been dumped in the Yellowstone River right now.
Oh, so
It doesn't matter how much. One drop is too much. Any is too much.
So how many disasters have to take place before you
Could I
receive
just
this report?
I want to respond to each of the questions and points. Sir, you said that it would be 20 times worse. It may contain 20 times as much oil as this pipeline. I appreciate that. But unfortunately, I can't even tell you how much oil has arrived in the Yellowstone River today. I've been told by the company.
So my opinion then is if you don't know, then there should be no new pipelines. If you don't already know how much oil is
Yeah.
being spilled, if you don't know how much oil is in the pipelines as it is, and if you don't know how much oil is going to come through the state, then you don't have enough information to make any fucking
Yeah.
decision.
If you'd like a dialogue, if you'd like me to answer the questions legitimately, I will do so.
Yeah, please
My
answer those
concern
questions.
is
You still haven't answered Max's question.
More pipelines do not reduce the risk of oil spilling. How can you say that more pipelines are going to reduce the risk of spilling? That's ridiculous.
But I don't think I said that. Here's what I will say to you. I will say to you that this country uses an inordinate quantity of hydrocarbons. I would say to you that 25% of all the oil that's consumed in the world is consumed by us. You, me. The food that we eat, the transportation corridors that we build, the asphalt that we lay,
Have you been to the tar sands?
Some of us are trying to
the
change
cars
that.
that we drive, the delivery systems that we use to deliver your food and your products.
Is this a commercial for them?
The way that you arrived here today on a car. The question is what are we doing? Well, Montana, the state of Montana, I think can't control all of the activities, but I can say to you that Montana has changed our vehicle standards, and we have either the highest CAFE standard or certainly in the top 1 or 2 in the country.
Well, then I have an alternative proposal for you to rescind your commitment to the XL Energy pipeline because that is oil that we do not need.
Which pipeline?
The XL Energy pipeline. That's oil that America does not need.
So, are you referring to the Keystone pipeline?
Keystone
Yeah,
XL.
okay. Well, it may contain some Exxon oil in it, but it would also contain some Montana drilled oil.
Where's it going?
Well, I think that what is proposed
Where's
is
the
that
oil coming from?
what is proposed is it would start at the oil sands of Fort McMurray. It would travel across eastern Montana. They would have an on-ramp so that Montana-produced oil could also go on this pipeline. It would go to Cushing, Oklahoma, and then from there it would go to refineries along the Gulf Coast that refine the gasoline and
And then it would go to Asia. Then it would be shipped to Asia.
And the question.
Yeah. We've just talked about the environmental effects so far. There are a number of social effects, and I mean, for example, up in Alberta, where the tar sands are taking place, indigenous people and local communities, and communities of color especially, and working class communities, are getting screwed by all the devastation that's happening up there, along with the undercutting of union jobs, both here and in Canada, because the oil companies are choosing to build over instead in Korea and China, and that gas is getting shipped over to Korea and China. So they're not even building the equipment over, they're not even only building the equipment over in Korea and China, they're sending all the gas there too. Not all of it, but a large part of it. And so I guess when you talk about building this pipeline, it sounds to me like complicity with evil. And I wonder how you can sleep with this and genocide.
Good question.
Well, I think you made a lot of good points, but there's something I wasn't exactly sure. The gas, are you talking natural gas or gasoline? And is being shipped to Korea from where again? Where's that?
Texas.
Texas.
They're
Goes
currently
from the tar sands down the pipeline that you want to have go through Montana into Texas and shipped to Asia. gasoline. Crude oil turned into
They
gasoline.
might do that, but that would be countervailing
This
to the...
tar sands oil is way more expensive
What I asked
than
is-
the oil that's being
But
pulled out.
let me answer the question first about exporting of oil.
Now let me make my question clear. What I asked was how you could feel good about yourself about undercutting union jobs and destroying working class and communities of color.
Well, I don't support any of the above.
Well, then why are you doing it?
You have to.
Yes, you do. You support everything you decide.
You have to be responsible for the whole process, from beginning to end. Look at where it's coming from. That's what he's talking about.
I'm curious if you've ever met and talked with any residents of Fort McMurray or Fort Chippewa who are suffering toxic poisoning from toxins.
No.
No, you haven't.
How many of you have traveled to Fort McMurray? Raise your hand. How many have been there? The oil sand project. Fort McMurray. Raise your hands. No, if you've been to Fort McMurray, these oil sands that you're talking about, raise your hand if you've actually been there.
We're not elected officials.
We're not the ones causing the destruction.
I would also say that unlike you, Mr. Schweitzer, we have talked with people from the First Nations communities in northeastern Alberta on multiple occasions, had meetings with them, organized public informationals with them, and I think that we know pretty well, probably better than you do, what it means to live downstream from the tar sands in Alberta. And the Keystone XL energy pipeline would be another infrastructure project that would be making the expansion of the tar sands possible, destroying communities up there. And I want to bring this conversation back to our demands. I think it is going in nukes, and what I want to say is, will you meet these demands? The demands being that you publicly come out in front of a news camera right now, right here, and say that you do not support the Keystone XL energy pipeline, you do not support ExxonMobil's tar sands shipping corridor, and that you are going to stand up for the lives and livelihoods of Montanans and kick big oil out of this state.
Community consent is what it's called.
How big? This is a reasonable question. You've asked me to kick big oil out of the state of Montana. Is there any size oil that's acceptable? How big is big?
I would like to go back to the more specific aspects of the demands, which are that you come out publicly and oppose the Keystone pipeline, Keystone XL pipeline, and Exxon's tar sands shipping corridor.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at that.
Yes.
The only thing we're asking.
Okay, then I think I answered the question with no, that's probably not going to happen today.
Okay, then we're not going to leave.
I've seen the tar sands oil that spilled. It spilled in our town, in Kalamazoo, the largest Superfund site in America. It spilled over a year ago as Enbridge tar sands oil.
Coming from the same place. It's not that we want better pipelines with new technology. This is inherently unsustainable and killing not only the people in Kalamazoo, but the people every step along this.
You want to know what Montana's going to look like? It's going to look like the Kalamazoo River, with die-offs, with closures, with oil that's been covered up with grass, and nothing's being done about it. 13 million gallons. But it's okay, because they took out insurance for it, because they had planned for it, because these things are inevitable. This is going to happen in Montana eventually, unless this pipe is not built. And it'll be your fault.
This bioregion right here, Yellowstone in Montana, is closest to an intact ecosystem as you can get in the United States right now. And do you want to ruin that?
No more fishing.
Kind of a big deal.
That's a big deal.
No more tourism. The entire planet will be impacted.
No more pieces of
Yeah, how much money is coming to Montana from tourism versus oil?
So, is there a strategy beyond asking me today to announce that I'm no longer supporting the Keystone XL?
Is that necessary?
Until you withdraw your support from Keystone XL and the Megaload project.
That's a strategy.
That's
That's
a strategy.
it.
That's
That's
a
a game plan.
People will listen to you, Mr. Schweitzer. People will listen to you. They
You're
listen
here for
to
the
you.
people.
We're here to establish an uncompromising position. That's our job.
Okay.
Sir, the heritage of this state, like all of this country, was founded in the blood of over 20 million people. To conquer North and South America, our people, the white people, killed millions of indigenous. That's the point. That's what's continuing right now with the Rubicon Creek. in Canada. That's why it's unacceptable. When 21 women try to have children in the community and 19 of them that year have stillbirths, I say, sir, it is time for us to step aside from those corporations, to stand away from those people who would kill in our name for greed alone. If you represent the people of Montana, sir, then you make a very important decision for these people. I would encourage you to make a decision of honor, to take a path which will create a new concept of life for all of us in this country. I come from the East Coast. We don't have coal. We don't have oil up there. You know what they want? Our water. And they're coming from Europe for it, to buy it and take it away from us. And the point, sir, is that we will either stand with integrity and honor, and we will stand for our communities against these multinational corporations, against the federal government, which would subsidize them with our tax dollars.
Thank you.
Well, where are you going to stand? You want to know.
Standing here right now.
Sir, it's this simple. It's not like you're standing somewhere in a room, sir. It's this simple. Either you stand with TransCanada, you stand with ExxonMobil, you stand with the people who profit billions of dollars more than any corporations in the history of this world, while we, the working poor, strive to survive.
We're
You
talking
either stand
about
with us or you stand with them, sir. That's the point.
we're talking about people dying, and you're making a joke.
This is nothing light.
This is
Nothing
voice
light about
of the
millions of
people.
dead indigenous
Voice
people.
of the people. All kinds of people. Not just.
What's it going to be, Mr. Schweitzer? Big oil, people of Montana. That's your choice.
Well, I think there might be another choice to make.
Is there really?
What do you think?
Well, I think the choice that we all have to make together is to decide whether we're going to live our own lives.
What does that mean?
Personally, decreasing our energy consumption.
Oh, come on. You're going to run to the wrong.
What you're doing was supporting ExxonMobil alone has released 5% of all carbon emissions on this planet. One company.
I see you're very passionate, and I appreciate that.
You see you're very
And we see you laughing.
And Mr. Governor, but you
I
just.
wish you could share the passion that I've had.
Us share the passion. We're like so compassionate, man.
I wish you could share the passion that I have in breaking our addiction. I wish.
Did you speak to the article that was in today's paper that was over the AP press about there's a professor from Nebraska, environmental engineer, that's saying that there's not enough information that shows it's going to be safe to have these pipelines. So with that, can you comment?
I haven't read this particular story, but
It's on the front page of the newspaper. You haven't read the front page of the newspaper?
We got something close to that. I'm sitting on the ground.
Some young Montanans.
Governor Schweitzer, my name is Peter Dolan. I'm from Great Falls. Grew up around here. It seems pretty clear to us that you're not willing to negotiate, and I'm here to tell you that we're not going anywhere.
all right. Well, best of luck.
And that means no business as usual.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that you're here today, and I appreciate that you'll be apparently here tomorrow. I appreciate that you have concerns about pipelines, in particular Silvertip, and beyond that, other pipelines.
And indigenous people dying.
And indigenous people.
And undercutting union jobs.
Undercutting union jobs.
Yeah.
Animals
No, I appreciate all of that.
animals
And I do appreciate.
that are naturally sequestering carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which we have way too high levels of right now.
Grizzly bears.
So, and I do appreciate in particular that this gentleman's concerns about Indigenous people. If you look behind you, you'll see that we fly the flags.
What an insult!
It's offensive, and that room across the hallway is also really offensive. You don't need to have trophies of the people that y'all have genocided here.
I think the flags represent a fair bit.
I think actions speak louder than words, and we want you to take action on this right now, right
You're
here.
not going to be able to schmooze and politician your way out of this.
You can
And
dress
said
like
you're going to give us legitimate answers, and you're being very illegitimate. You're being really phony.
You're making jokes about people dying, the environment being killed.
What joke did I make? The reason I said I'm standing here is because my guess would be in Michigan.